Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to share my research on the practical application of AI-accompanist apps, and I hope this will contribute to a greater use and development of this technology because I feel that this could be an extremely helpful resource for musicians. It's not always logistically or financially feasible to have a pianist or whole orchestra be able to play with you whenever you want or need, and these apps can help bridge those gaps. It all began when I was in a desperate need to finish a contract recital during a pandemic and came across the A.I.accompanist applications. After a few hours of testing the apps, I began to believe I might be able to make this work for a recording submission and even for teaching my students. I've selected 3 A.I.accompanist applications: Cadenza Live, MyPianist, and Metronaut. I will determine which app with their various features would be most appropriate for specific settings, either professional performance like auditions and concert, or a regular practice tool for a student, as well as make recommendations for potential improvement in score following technique programming. In order to understand how the AI-accompanist apps work, we need to learn about the technology aspect of it called score following. Score following is the process of tracking live players as they play through a predetermined score, usually for the purpose of providing an automatic computer accompaniment to a live player. Score following was first presented at the 1984 ICMC, International Computer Music Conference, independently by Barry Vercoe and Roger Denenberg. By 1987, IRCOM, Institute for Research and Coordination in Acoustics and Music, was incorporating score following in concert productions, and it is their ongoing project. The procedure for score following is rather simple. Enter a score into a computer in some form, and then play the score with real-time input from the musicians playing on a note-by-note basis in unison with the player, triggering electronic events at precise points in the performance score. The AI accompaniment apps have many additional applications such as page turner, automatic accompaniment, recording, etc. Today, I'm going to explore these features and see how reliable they are along with the AI feature. The research behind Cadenza Live started in the 1990s, with multiple National Science Foundation funded projects conducted by the current MetaMusic team members at University of Massachusetts Amherst and later at Indiana University Bloomington to serve conservatory-level musicians at the Jacobs School of Music. MetaMusic then partnered with multiple academic institutions and conservatories to support masterclasses, performances, and provided piano and orchestra accompaniments for several competitions in 2019. The schools that adopted MetaMusic's technology are the Jacobs School of Music at Indiana University, University of Cincinnati, North Carolina State University, Central Conservatory of Music, and their affiliated middle school in Beijing, Shanghai Conservatory of Music, and Sichuan Conservatory of Music. On their website, they say the app is curated for advanced string and wind players, from high school students to conservatory faculty and career soloists. Each cadenza piece has a soul of the deep musical understanding, powered by sophisticated musical artificial intelligence, fine-tuned by professionals. Cadenza Live has only 2 features for recording: practice mode and live mode. However, it has many other useful options and little complement features also available. Here's the demonstration video of how the Cadenza Live app looks. Once you choose the instrument, you have access to the repertoire that is available. I'm showing some of the features here. You can adjust the tuning, select practice mode or live mode. You can also adjust the volume of the accompaniment, which I find very useful. On top, you can find the camera icon to turn on the video recording. More features can be found in the settings. Here, you can adjust the latency for using Bluetooth speakers, change transposition, and print the sheet music and call FaceTime while using the app for virtual lessons. Each take will be recorded every time and it will be saved within the app. I will now demonstrate their video recording feature. This is my first time video recording Mozart's Andante in C major with Cadenza Live. Here, I just finished the excerpt and am now going to play back the recording. As you can see, the app recognizes my intonation and marks red for flat and blue for sharp notes. Then I'm going to train the app by clicking the train button on top so that it can learn my phrasings. And click on the spots with a purple diamond to manually adjust the tempo for the beginning of a phrase. Compared to the other two apps, Cadenza Live definitely had the most professional level classical repertoire. I like having the FaceTime feature and the option of having a video recording, but I personally didn't really need those much. This was the only app that could adjust the volume of the accompaniment, but you'll have to use headphones or external speakers since the app itself can't project the volume. It's also the most expensive among the three apps I'm comparing today. MyPianist was invented by Kola Party Oy, a software company based in Helsinki, Finland, that was founded in 2019. The founder, Juho Pojunen, is an active piano soloist and a chamber musician who regularly plays at the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center in New York. He has programmed MyPianist from the ground up in his spare time, testing it with his chamber music colleagues. Jonas Pojunen is a major contributor to MyPianist's music library, and he has more than 20 years of experience as a collaborative pianist at the Sibelius Academy in Helsinki and in international masterclasses and competitions. The creator says MyPianist is truly created by musicians for musicians, drawing on their extensive experience in the field of classical music as performing artists. This inspires them to create apps that are both functional and elegant from a musician's point of view. Here are the 5 performance modes of MyPianist. Solo practice mode is practicing without accompaniment. Sight reading mode is practicing with MyPianist, leading your tempo. Intonation mode is practicing in free rhythm to check your intonation. Rhythm mode is practicing with MyPianist to keep the tempo as steady as possible. Rehearsal mode is rehearsing a performance with MyPianist. This is a short demonstration of the MyPianist app and how it works. The search section is rather simple. You choose the instrument or composer and it will pull up the entire work. Then you choose a particular movement. There are 5 features, and each of them allow you to choose loops and metronome options. If you enable Learn My Phrasing feature and record, it will listen and adapt your phrasings. You will then go to Perform and choose Apply Learned Phrasing. You can do this multiple times to improve the collaboration. One of the most practical features that I liked about MyPianist is the real-time feedback on intonation and rhythm. The intonation and rhythm feature allows you to tackle technical problems efficiently. In this video, I'm playing the beginning of an esco and experimenting with the intonation feedback. The orange indicates sharp and blue for flat. You can take as long as you want on each note, and the accompaniment will wait for you until you move on to the next note. Here, I'm over-exaggerating on certain notes to get clear feedback, and I promise I don't normally play like this. That was rough. Thank you for listening to that. MyPianist is relatively new to this industry, and for that reason, they lack repertoire for many instruments. However, I like their simple design and their AI feature, Learn My Phrasing, which was easy to use. Their score also looks the most similar to real scores, and most importantly, it's more affordable. Finally, Metronaut was created by Antescofo in July 2016, based in Paris, France. Their technology is the result of more than 7 years of R&D in the world's largest laboratory dedicated to music and technology, A.I.accom in Paris, and public experience with prestigious orchestras and musicians around the world. Their focus is mobile ready and preparing for future devices enhancing live interaction. The team and Metronaut say that through intelligent machine listening, we recognize how humans perform music in real time and use that information to synchronize content and provide an immersive experience. The main features for Metronaut are listening mode, which helps you get familiar with the piece by hearing both your part and the accompaniment. Sight reading mode allows you to learn the notes without accompaniment, and at your own pace, Metronaut will move the cursor and scroll through the score as you play the right notes. Performance mode allows you to play with accompaniment at the speed of your choice. Magic performance mode lets you take the lead. You can speed up or slow down during your performance, and the accompaniment will follow you in real time. As you can see, there's a lot of repertoire for flute. For Bardineri by J.S. Bach, you can choose different levels of difficulty, and I chose the advanced version. You can also change the interval, octaves, transpose, and choose to display the accompaniment part, which I like. Here are the 5 performance modes I mentioned: listening, sight reading, training, performing, and magic performing. Here, you can adjust the volume, and in expert settings, you can also adjust the latency, like in the Cadenza Live app. I was happy to see their effort on efficient practicing when I found out about the notation feature. You can mark and color the score and print them with your own notations. You can also manually change the tempo at any time. Now, I'm going to demonstrate on the loop feature in Metronaut. You will see me selecting a few measures and playing it twice with the metronome and slowing down the tempo to my preferred speed for practice and play again using the loop. After using the app for a few hours, I've noticed that it is well designed for practicing purposes with its notation, print, loop, and an in-app tuner. I like the fact that you can choose to see the accompaniment part when you're practicing, which helps for score studying. Metronaut has over 4,000 pieces in all genres divided by different levels. Despite all these amazing pros, there is a major problem that I think needs to be improved. When requesting a new repertoire, it will need to be voted by other users in order to process. They have a list of repertoire that is requested and the users vote, and their content is created by popular votes. The sound quality of the accompaniment is not as good as the other two apps in my personal opinion, and the AI feature is not as reliable. But if you're using this app for practicing and for lessons, it shouldn't be a huge problem. For an easy comparison for the three apps, I created a chart here. As you can see, all three apps included many solo instruments in their collection. MyPianist has only piano accompaniment and mainly classical music repertoire, where Metronaut and Cadenza Live have many other instruments in different genres. Unfortunately, these apps are only created for iOS devices such as iPhones and iPads, except MyPianist is currently working on their beta version for Android. One of the major differences among these apps is the number of repertoire that are available. Note that MyPianist has 15 pieces, which means each piece will include all its movements, and the other two apps make each movement available as one content. And of course, we have to look into how much they cost, and it's very different. MyPianist costs $4.99 a month and Metronaut $12.49 a month, where Cadenza Live costs $19.99 a month. All of them come with a free trial and samples, so that is a plus. You'll notice there are a lot of features that these apps offer. All three apps include basic features such as audio recording, metronome, and manual tempo adjustment, but as you can see, MyPianist doesn't offer as many small features as the other two apps do. I'll go over these in detail in the later part of the presentation. Here's a short comparison on Ravel's Habanera for the sound quality of the three apps. Note that the tempo and the volume can be adjusted by the user. First is Metronaut. Then Cadenza Live. Now, MyPianist. To me, Metronaut sounded a little artificial like MIDI. MyPianist was musical and had the best sound quality in my opinion. Cadenza Live has decent performance recordings, but the quality of the file needs to be improved because there's a lot of distortion and artifacts in the sound when it's played at loud volumes. What I bet most people are wondering about these apps is how reliable their AI features are. Is it smart enough to do what real collaborative pianists can do? Can I use this technology for a live concert? The answer is yes and no. Technically, the AI should be able to analyze and follow the performer. However, Metronaut's magic mode was analyzing and interpreting my performance per note, not as a phrase, which is the fundamental technology of how this works, but it is not sensitive enough. I want you to pay attention to the tempo adjustment at the bottom of the app. It adjusts the tempo on every single note that I'm playing, and that's how it's listening to anticipate. So when I get to measure 9 and do a rubato at the end of a phrase, it stays in the same tempo during a rest, and it slows down the accompaniment for the entire measure. Metronaut is also missing the train feature, so I decided to not include Metronaut for the next experiment. One of the advantages of a score following system is that it can use training methods. Training means adapting the various probabilities and adjusting to the style of a musician. The main focus of this research is to evaluate the train features of these apps that learn phrasings of the performers and improve their anticipation over time. This train feature works a bit differently on MyPianist and Cadenza Live. In MyPianist, you'll use rehearsal mode and let it learn your phrasings and change it to performance mode and play again with the learned phrasings. For Cadenza Live, you play with the accompaniment and it automatically records and saves the recording to your library, and you can choose it to be trained. Then you'll play again and you'll see the improvement. According to the app's creators, the app can learn unlimited times and will be able to effectively follow the performer's performance. I chose a flute concerto by Chaminade and Ravel's pièce en forme de habanera to play for the same amount of time to train and perform with each app for the comparison. For habanera, I played and trained 3 times with each app. These videos only include the first and the final result of 3 training sessions. Because of the flute's long-held notes on the first measure, MyPianist had a hard time adjusting the tempo in the beginning, and as a result, when I started the performance mode with learned phrasings, it started playing at a slower tempo. Whereas Cadenza Live also struggled in the beginning to follow because the score is actually written an octave below, meaning it had a different version of habanera. Interestingly, it was able to follow me after a few measures. Again, first time through and after the 3 trainings. As you could hear, there was definitely an improvement in following and anticipation compared to the first take without any training. In this video, I played the excerpts from Chaminade Concerto and used the training feature about 6 times on MyPianist. The idea is that the app should be able to gradually follow the performer. There are several problems that I found during this research. First, the repertoire is limited due to copyright issues depending on when it was composed and which country you're accessing from. The sound quality of the accompaniment can be debatable when it comes to orchestra or chamber recordings. I was focusing on piano accompaniment for this research, but you can definitely take a look at the orchestra accompaniment to compare if you're interested. Most of these apps are only designed for iOS and Mac at the moment. MyPianist has their beta version for Android, so maybe it will become available for others too. The latency issue was something that I struggled with when I started using these apps for the first time. Because I use AirPod Bluetooth headphones, there was a delay between the sound I was hearing and the app registering my sound. But for this issue, you can always adjust them in the apps. It just takes time. Pieces that have multiple editions with different notations could be problematic because the app will not recognize your phrasing if you're playing different arrangements and editions. From my experience, playing different ornaments or a few notes is fine as long as you continue and eventually play the same melody as is written in the app within a few measures. Lastly, I have come up with what I think each app is most suitable for. For teachers and their younger students, I recommend Metronaut. Metronaut offers a free trial for a month and gives discounts for teachers and institutions. I think the visual aspect of it is very attractive, colorful, and kid-friendly. And it's perfectly designed for mobile phones and iPads. And the loop feature allows a student to tackle the difficult passages without interruption. The student can also choose the difficulty of the piece from beginner, intermediate, advanced, and expert options. And it has practice reminders where you can get a notification for daily practice. For professional settings such as competitions and auditions, I would recommend Cadenza Live. Cadenza Live definitely wins over other apps for their wide classical repertoire collection for all instruments. I've discovered a lot of concertos with orchestra accompaniments, which could be useful for such setups. And their technology is proven to be reliable for these purposes and is supported by multiple music institutions already. For daily practice and recording purposes, MyPianist has won the first prize. Like their name suggests, they provide high-quality piano accompaniment recordings. I was very impressed by their 5 different practice modes, especially the intonation and rhythm feature, and how easy it was to apply my phrasings and for it to adapt. I personally prefer having a simple and easy format when it comes to technology, and MyPianist has the features that are essential that I will actually use in my daily practicing. I also find it to be the most reliable in terms of the AI features. All the creators and the developers made their own suggestions for how to use their apps. I embraced all the recommendations from their responses over emails and came up with the best setup that worked best for different occasions for use. In general, for a better experience, you should connect the device to a headphone or external speakers to avoid the app not being able to hear your sound because of the feedback of the accompaniment into the microphone being too loud. For practice, place an iPad or iPhone on the music stand and connect to headphones. Or, if you are using Bluetooth headphones, adjust the latency for the possible delay in AI mode. For masterclass and lessons, connect an iPad or an iPhone to an external speaker. For performances, possibly use the whole sound system, but I didn't have access to it, so I placed 2 external speakers facing towards the audience. The volume needs to be adjusted so that the accompaniment is not overpowering the solo audio. If using a whole sound system, the performer might have to be amplified by using a mic or even mounting one on the instrument in order not to be overpowered. Test your setup in the space before the concert in order to make sure the balance is good. These apps and their technology are continuing to develop every day. Unfortunately, these apps currently lack repertoire for certain instruments, along with a few other obstacles. But within 2 months of the start of my research, MyPianist released a major update with new features, And Metronaut and Cadenza Live also expanded their repertoire immensely. I'm hopeful that with people in the music industry's interest, this will only continue to grow and evolve moving forward. These apps are not meant to completely replace live pianists because AI accompanist apps cannot replicate the chemistry and artistry that human musicians have. There's no visual contact or verbal discussions on interpretations. But if used efficiently, you can save time and money while preparing for a concert or audition. The computer might not be as creative and artistic, but it's patient and accurate. This is a great resource pedagogically to learn the piano or orchestra part of your pieces if you're a student, and also great for teaching if you're a teacher. I hope this presentation helped you to navigate which app works the best for you if you're considering giving it a try. Thank you.